What if your business didn't just turn a profit, it changed lives for your employees? In our recent conversation with Don Winter, he shared a sobering stat he picked up from a founder of Regent Bank, Sean Copen. If one of your employees goes to church, they spend 94 times as many hours in their job as they do in the church. That means even if they have the best pastor in the world, much of their life is being shaped by what happens at work. It doesn't matter what your business does, whether it's a faith-based organization or not. Either way, we have an incredible opportunity and responsibility, as business leaders to pour into, impact, and minister, to our employees on a day-to-day basis. You see, when Jesus gave the Great Commission, he didn't separate our faith into different categories. He didn't say, make disciples at church, or, make disciples only when you're doing ministry. He simply said, go and make disciples. As you move through your day, as you work, as you lead, as you raise your kids, as you interact with the people God has placed around you. In Colossians 3:23, Paul says, whatever you do, work heartedly, right? As for the Lord, whatever you do, not just the spiritual things, not just what happened on Sunday. And in Matthew 5:16, Jesus says, so let your light shine before others, not just believers, not just church friends, but anyone you encounter. The Bible's vision is simple. You are a disciple of Jesus everywhere you go, including the place where you spend the most of your week, your workplace. So let's talk about what that looks like, practically speaking. Number one, make excellence your first ministry. The first way you integrate faith at work isn't by quoting scripture or, starting a Bible study. It's by the way you work, right? When you show up prepared, follow through on what you say, serve others, work with integrity, handle pressure with calmness and grace, right? People notice. They may not say it out loud, but they feel the difference. And that difference opens the doors for spiritual influence more than anything you could ever say. This is why Colossians tells us to work as for the Lord. Excellence is a form of worship, and it earns trust. When people, trust your character, they are just far more open to conversations about the deeper things in life. So start there. Lead with excellence. Let your work reflect the God you serve. Number two, build a culture of care. Faith becomes visible in the workplace when people feel genuinely cared for. This doesn't mean you're trying to, be your employee's pastor. It simply means you lead with compassion. When you ask someone how they're doing, stop long enough to hear the answer. When you notice someone under stress, check in, right? When a team member has a win at home, an anniversary, a new baby, a breakthrough, celebrate it. These small moments of care just create trust. They teach your team that they matter for who they are, not just for what they produce. And trust creates natural opportunities for deeper, faith-filled conversations over time. Number three, bring prayer into your leadership. One of the most powerful ways to integrate your faith into your work is by praying for your team. You can start quietly. Pray for wisdom, before tough meetings. Ask God for clarity when you make decisions that affect your team. Lift up your employees by name, especially when you know someone is walking through something heavy. None of this needs to be announced. God honors the quiet, unseen prayers just as much as the public ones. And when the moment is right and you sense prayer would be welcome, you can offer to pray for someone, who's hurting. Most people appreciate that offer far more than you'd expect. If you're feeling especially bold, you may then, ask your team, from time to time, how can I be praying for you this week? And let them decide how open they want to be. It should always feel just invitational and caring, never forced or manipulated. Number four, build values that reflect God's heart. Integrating faith into the workplace isn't about turning your company into a church. It's about shaping the culture around what God values. Things like integrity, humility, service, forgiveness, honesty, honoring family, right? Treating people with dignity, and making decisions that reflect love rather than fear. You can put simple structures behind these too. So encourage healthy boundaries so employees aren't expected to sacrifice their families for work. Protect rest. Don't celebrate burnout, right? Build rhythms of celebration and gratitude. Handle conflict with clarity and kindness. Model taking responsibility when you miss the mark, right? These kinds of values speak loudly on their own. They preach without preaching. Number five, create opportunities without pressure. This is where a lot of men get nervous. They think integrating faith means forcing spiritual conversations or trying to convert people at work. But that's not what Jesus modeled. He invited people, he never pressured them. If you want to create spiritual opportunities, do it with an open hand. Start an optional morning devotional for anyone who wants to join. Host a voluntary book study on leadership or character. Bring in guest speakers who talk about personal growth, stewardship, or marriage. Offer mentorship, right, for employees who want help with life skills or budgeting, parenting, communication, and purpose. You're not trying to coerce anyone. You're creating space for people who are hungry for growth. When you continually make yourself available without expectations or pressure and let your team know you care, you may just be surprised who responds, even if it isn't right away. The good news is you don't have to overhaul your company or turn your workplace into a church to make a real impact. You just have to show up with Jesus in your heart and a willingness to love the people God has placed around you. So here's your challenge for the week. Choose one simple way to live out your faith at work. Maybe it's praying for your team. Maybe it's checking in on someone who seems discouraged. Maybe it's showing excellence in a place you've let slide, or choosing integrity when it would be easier not to. Start small. Start today. And trust that God will use your faithfulness. Because when you bring Christ into your workplace, you're stepping into one of the greatest opportunities you'll ever have to make a difference that lasts long after the workday is done. Would you subscribe to the Courageous Men podcast? I want to help you to lead your business courageously for Christ. So that way you can be a courageous husband and father. Join the Courageous Men community today. Let's take action. Let's be courageous.